How you doing, my man? So I'm originally from Little Burgundy in Montreal, but I moved when I was around 7, so I don't really have much influence from Montreal. I mean, like my formative years growing up as a kid were in Toronto. My mom's a Quebecer, like, you know, French Canadian, fully white, and then I have a lot of family in Quebec, so je parle français all day, every day. My dad spoke French as well because he's from Djibouti, which is right by Somalia, but it was a French colony, so he spoke French, my mom spoke French, so we spoke French at home, and I went to French school my whole life, so. I don't know much about the music scene in Quebec, to be quite honest. You know, I know K-Tronada is from out there. It's fire. And then there's this one rapper that I was actually put on to recently, Nate Husser. Yeah, so Nate Husser goes hard. First and foremost, I'd say that I'm in my own lane, just because I sound like NAIIM and nobody else. But you know, you look at people like Tory Lanez who like genre bend. Tory Lanez had like, you know, the Chicks tapes, which was super R&B influenced. He raps his ass off and he's fire at it. He just had a pop album, like an 80s influence pop album that came out not long ago. So I think I'm kind of like that in a sense. But as far as coming up with my own sound, I think it just comes from experimentation and experience. I've been making music since I was 13. So, you know, you go through various phases and you experiment with different things and you pick up things along the way, you know, especially listening to as much music as I did growing up and just playing around recording. I like tidbits from everywhere and I sort of try and have fun with it, you know, and that's the most important thing at the end of the day. It's about having fun with the music, and I don't want to be put in a box. I want to play outside the box, and as long as I'm playing, then I think that I'm doing what I need to be doing to not only get to where I want to be, but also to have fun along the journey, and that's what it's all about. The first musical influence that I had was my grandfather on my mom's side was like the lead singer of a rock band. So every time, you know, I would spend my summers and I would spend my winter breaks up north Quebec where they lived, and he always played the guitar, so he would always like, you know, sing the Beatles and stuff like that, so I was put onto the Beatles through him. My dad listened to a lot of classical music, a lot of opera, so I was put onto that, a lot of folk French music from Europe, like Edith Piaf, you know, Charles Aznavour, Dalida, things like that. And then obviously like, you know, like classic rock and hip hop, like my parents played a lot of Biggie, but where I really found my love for music was when I was a kid and I went to an HMV store, and you know how they had like the little listening booths? They had like a Ludacris album playing in one of those machines, which was the Ludacris Red Light District album, which ended up being the first album I ever bought when I was 13. And that's when I really fell in love with hip hop, and I was like, I need to start rapping. So I would just like write little verses instead of doing my homework. And at some point, I discovered on my dad's computer, because he had a Mac, that like I could actually record myself. So my brother would play beats in the background and I'd start like rapping my verses, and over time progressed into self-engineering and, you know, learning the tricks of the trade. I mean, the number is, you know, obviously it's like hitting your first million, like it's cool, and you're like, damn, I just hit 1 million. I was very fast to get over it. It was like, oh shit, that's really cool. All right, what's next? Like, 1 million's not gonna do anything for you. I'm trying to do groundbreaking numbers at the end of the day, so I'm never satisfied. I'm not satisfied, and like, it's important to celebrate your wins, but at the end of the day, it's also important not to get hung up over them, because you can always do better. So I'm always looking to see what I can do to get better and better and better. You ain't felt like this in a while. I was in LA and I was at some label party, and I had met Zach, who's the lead singer of Wake the Wild, at a songwriting session. He called me while I was in the party and he was like, bro, like you need to pull up to the studio. I'm with my guys with Wake the Wild, the rest of his band. We want to cook up tonight. And it's like 2 in the morning. I'm most certainly inebriated. So I get there and they were playing like these really funky beats, and then they played the Dark Side beat, and I was like, no, this is fire. So like, I think within 45 minutes we had the whole song done. You know, I guess the record itself is more so about, obviously about a person of interest, a girl, and it's like, you know, like you look all good and stuff on the exterior, but really what's your dark side? That I'm here to take over, and that I'm coming in, I'm not dispensable, you know, and I'm gonna come in, make my mark, and do what I gotta do. It goes without saying that I'm sick. Don't lie, wanna know your type. I was molded by Toronto, you know, like I was only in Montreal until I was 7. I am French Canadian at the core, you know, but what really shaped me and what really molded me is Toronto. My people are here and the energy is just crazy every time we show out. I haven't performed in Montreal yet and I can't wait to do so, but you know, like all my people are out here, so every show's a turn up. My name's NAIIM, for those who don't know. You can find me at NAIIM Sounds on Instagram, NAIIM, NAIIM, on all streaming platforms. And we got a song coming out called Twice on December 2nd, so make sure you go get that and let's run it up.